and professional responsibility to the survey profession. And I guess that professional responsibility to the survey profession is where I'm coming from a little bit with this situation where we're getting surveyors that are signing the work that are done by other people without probably providing adequate supervision for the work that they're doing. The supervising surveyor supervises activities of others in order to fulfil legal and professional responsibilities and obligations, has agreed to supervise a graduate, or a candidate, getting back to the bossy exams, and of course is a registered surveyor. Supervising surveyor, and this is something that everybody must remember, is solely responsibility for the surveys carried out under supervision. So it doesn't matter who does the work for you. At the end of the day, it's the surveyor's name that goes on the plan that takes the responsibility. And when we were putting together the determination, this guided us a fair bit in that we always had that bottom line that the registered land surveyor will take full responsibility for any work that person signs for. And they can't get out of that. They can't use the excuse, and remember back under the old Act way back, under my immediate supervision, I didn't do the work, look, it was done under my immediate supervision, so it wasn't my fault. That does not hold up now, so that if any work's done and signed by a surveyor, then that surveyor takes absolutely responsibility for it, so there's not a problem with that. This next one, though, is responsible for the work, health and safety of the supervised person. This starts to get a little bit tricky here now, because if somebody is signing a plan for somebody, they then, according to this, are taking responsibility for that work, health and safety. So it starts to get a little bit murky. If that person was doing some work and got hurt or hurt somebody else, does the registered surveyor that signed the plan, or was it potentially going to sign the plan, finish up having to take responsibility for the work, health and safety? I don't know. Should exercise a standard supervision that will ensure the survey reflects his or her professional responsibilities and compliance with relevant statutes. Back to that again. Okay, immediate supervision. These are the bits that you're after. I know you've all been hanging after this bit. The supervising surveyor is expected to have a significant level of involvement with the supervised person. So that significant level of involvement, not really defined, but it's certainly specified there. It is a matter for the supervising surveyor to determine the circumstance of each case, and this involves but not necessarily restricted to the following. Brief the supervised person, accompany the supervised person on site. Interesting, that one. Be present on enough occasions to answer questions and provide guidance. A little bit, that reflects in the supervision for the bossy exams a little bit more than carrying out the surveys. Inspect the marking and discuss all aspects of the survey on completion. Okay, so that's the immediate supervision. General supervision. So this is a lesser level, so it's probably a person with more skills, more qualifications. Supervising surveyor continues to be solely responsible for work. We keep saying that. The level of oversight and review is reduced, may involve the following. Instruction on requirements for any unusual or difficult aspects of the survey work, progress checks of the unusual or complex features, a detailed and comprehensive review of the assignment on completion, and the supervising surveyor may need to visit the site. Again, that's in the determination that was being done. These are not words I've made up. I've taken this straight out of the determination by the board. So what I'm telling you is that if you get into a situation about supervision and you haven't inspected the site, you may have difficulty in answering some of the questions that are put to you. Okay. This is another little bit that comes up. Only a registered land surveyor, registered mine surveyor as well, has power of entry onto land together with his or her assistants. The only registered land surveyor has a certificate of authority. So if an unregistered person is out there doing this work, they have absolutely no power of entry. Now, if they're caught on an adjoining property, it could be deemed as being trespass. Again, could be deemed as being trespass. That's up to the law to prove. But it's something that you have to be careful about and that you may not want to get yourself involved in. At least What I'm doing here is making you aware of the facts that could affect some decisions that you make. Without this entry, it may be regarded as trespass. Okay, the institution, of course, has its code of ethics. And basically what the code of ethics says is that there's 12 components to it, and if you breach any one of those 12 components, then you have to explain to the institution why you should still be a member. And the institution's got the right to restrict you as a member if you don't satisfy these. Now, it doesn't specifically say in the Code of Ethics that you shouldn't do the things that I've been talking about. But again, there's some bits and pieces in here that if you interpret them one way or the other, then you could draw conclusions that would point in a direction that perhaps you should be giving a little bit more thought to your supervision. So ethics are rules of conduct based on honesty, justice and courtesy. They're central to appropriate standards of professional behaviour. Members of the institution must comply with the following 12 components that constitutes the Code of Ethics. I haven't got all the 12 in here. So I've taken out the two that I think are relevant, and those of you that know the Code of Ethics backwards, because I know you all, together with Les reading of the regs at night, you have the Code of Ethics sitting there, probably the constitution of the institution, which you're going to need this afternoon. A member shall apply their competencies in the interest of their employer or client by acting as faithful agents or advisors without compromising the welfare and rights of the community, and complying with relevant legislation and regulation. Okay, so it's how you interpret the legislation and regulation. You could be in breach of Clause 6B. 12, a member shall build reputation on merit and shall refrain from any form of unfair competition, including using professional designation to which they have no entitlement, offering inducements to secure work or advancement, seeking to supplant other professionals another professional who has been appointed, neglecting to comply with provisions of rules or regulation governing the practice of surveying and the provision of spatial information. Again, their rules or regulations, accepting or providing a fee which preclude them from supplying an adequate or appropriate professional service, and advertising in a fraudulent or misleading manner. So, I also believe that parts of Clause 12, number 12 of the Code of Ethics, it could be interpreted that if you're doing some of these things, if you're not providing proper supervision in either form, then you could be in breach of that. So it's a simple message that I have for you, and I didn't want to prolong this too much. I just wanted to bring this information to you. As I've said, the supervisor surveyor takes full responsibility for the work of the supervised person. We cannot emphasise that enough, and that goes right from an LPI point of view, from an institution point of view, and from a professional surveyor's point of view. That is the supervising surveyor that takes that full responsibility. Okay, now are there any questions about this? I purposely wanted to keep this short and sharp. I didn't want to prolong it too much. Are there anybody else got anything they'd like to say about supervision, immediate and general, or lack thereof? Well, I didn't think you'd all agree with me. Okay, I'm pleased. I'm pleased that somebody hasn't stood up and wanted to argue the toss about it, because I believe that you probably all pretty much understand what I've been talking about.